Hey y'all, this is OD from On the Air Sickle. Have you been enjoying On the Air Sickle lately? Want to get your story on the air like these people? Check out our new On the Air Sickle website, where you can share your story live on the air. Hello, everybody. Welcome to On the Air Sickle. This is the place where we show you the stories of all the sickle cell warriors and the entire sickle cell community. We air the good, the bad, and the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. I'm your host, OD. Thank you all for tuning in to the show. It is my honor and privilege to bring you our next guest on the air. So listen. Our next guest on the air is Miss Tawanda Young. I'm sure that you all have seen advertisements on the Facebook group page. If you haven't, feel free to tune in. You can get the information, live updates of everything that's happening with On the Air Sickle. Tawanda Young, she is an individual who has posted her preference to air her story through our Share My Story link on our website. So I'm super excited. She's the first guest to utilize that. And so what you can do if you want to be like Tawanda is you go to the On the Air Sickle website. Go to On the Air Sickle website. The Share My Story link is right at the top. Put your information in there and a member of our team will get in touch with you. She is a 2005 Bachelor of Nursing graduate of North Carolina at Greensboro, soon to gain her RN license. Tawanda wants to use her knowledge and experience to encourage, inspire, and educate others within the sickle cell community to push through, fight, and accomplish their dreams. Tawanda Young is our next guest on the air, ladies and gentlemen. I want to introduce to you and bring to some Tawanda Young, BSN. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm wonderful. So look, Tawanda, I'm so excited to have you on the show. It is a privilege to have you on because you utilize our Share My Story link. Can you tell everybody how you kind of got information about On the Air Sickle?
I was part of one of the sickle cell Facebook groups, and I saw your advertisement, and I have been wanting to get my story out for a while, but never know how. And so it was nice to see that advertisement, and I'm like, wow, okay, because I do go to some of the other sickle cell sites, and they say share your story, and I'm always a little hesitant about putting everything out there. But I have wanted to, do like a podcast on YouTube, and I'm glad that I can do it through your community.
Oh wow! Well, thank you so much. I'm excited. Like when I saw that you came through the link, I told my wife, I was like, oh my gosh, somebody actually used the link. So it's really cool to see that. So tell me, you have your BSN, and you're seeking to get your RN.
Yes.
Now, I know for me, when I was trying to go to school, it was difficult having sickle cell. And which type of sickle cell do you have?
SS.
So which most people know, SS and then SC, but there's so many. For those of you who don't know, Tawanda and I are actually in an advocacy class, which is really cool, and we're learning so much already. The class just started, but SS is something that most people know as the worst or severe type of sickle cell. So with you having your BSN, your bachelor's, how did that process work for you? Like, and for me, like I had to start school, stop school, and then I finally was just like, I'm not doing this again. Like how did you push through it?
I had a good support system. My family has always been supportive. I'm the youngest of six children and the only one with sickle cell. So it was hard growing up, being the only one with sickle cell, and wondering, am I the only one? And having my mom as a nurse also helped steer me and guide me and support me as well. So it was good to have her with me every time I went to the doctors, and she would correct the doctors and she would be on point. And that made me want to do that as well. And I'm like, well, I have sickle cell, so I would love to be the patient as well as the advocate, as well as a professional. So I did have to start and stop school my last year and senior year, and I got sick with a bad pneumonia and acute chest, and I had to leave school. I actually had to petition my school because they wanted to take me out of the program because it was taking so long for me to graduate. I had to take off about 2.5, 3 years, and I would go back and forth. One semester I would do clinicals, another semester I would do the studies, the book work, and I would go back and forth from Creedmoor, North Carolina. It was about an hour drive back and forth. So I would do that my last year, and I did petition, and they said that yeah, that is against the law, and I was like, yeah, that is against the law. I know that. That last year, I actually ended up on a ventilator, and my mom, she pushed through again, like she always has. So she's always been a good support system along with my family, and so that's why actually I relocated up here to be closer to family.
Gotcha. So tell me, during that process with you, being in and out of the hospital, what was your mental state like? Did you feel like you could keep going? Did you want to quit?
I did. That last year, I definitely wanted to give up. And my mother actually told me, she said, if you want to stop nursing, it's okay. You don't have to do it for me, but just if you want to stop, then just stop. But it's up to you. And for a while, I was reconsidering because I was just like everyone knew I had sickle cell when I was in school. I was in college. I was always upfront about it. And when we got to that subject in nursing school, everyone's like, oh, you have sickle cell. I'm like, yeah, I do. And so that was always a little topic, a little uneasy sometimes because then they would be like, oh, really? You go through all of that? And it's like, a little bit more than that. But yes, the paragraph or two that they talk about in the textbooks is a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So, but they always wondered, and I was told, oh, it's no point in you finishing nursing school. You can never work as a nurse. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna quit. And just because of those comments, and I've had that by teachers, why are you even doing this? Why are you putting stress on your body like this? And I'm like, no, because I can do it, and I know I can do it. So.
Yeah. You said something. You said that the two paragraphs is in the textbook. I've always said doctors only know as much about sickle cell as what they read in school. And unless they're actually like they're hematologists and they're actually invested in the sickle cell community, which makes it difficult, right, for us as patients to explain, hey, look, this is my pain, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I need, or even to like advocate for ourselves because the doctors and the people in the white coats, they know best, right? So how did you in your, I guess, now that you have your BSN and learning about that, how did that make you feel seeing there is literally only a few things about sickle cell and it's not enough to cover the scope of what we go through? How did that make you feel?
It was a little disappointing because they only tell you the basics of it. They don't even go into the different types of sickle cell. There's like sometimes they'll say beta thalassemia. They may have a paragraph on that, but they don't go into the SS, the SC, and they don't go into the differences between the two. And so it's very hard because once you get out there, and I was doing my clinicals, there are times when I did a clinical and I would leave from the floor and after my clinical was done and go down to the ER and go and get treatment because
Wow.
it was that hard and stressful. And I did that a number of times where I just would leave clinicals like, okay, my clinic's over, I'm going down, and and they're like, you came from clinicals? I was like, I sure did. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm persevering through this. I believe that there is something about being a nurse or even having the knowledge of having been through nursing school and having to be able to, you can relate to people that have sickle cell, people that do not have sickle cell, people that have other illnesses, and you can relate to the professionals and what the professionals are saying. And even in the hospital now, when they find out I went to nursing school, it's like their attitudes change and they're like, oh, you went to nursing school. I was like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. So that's always kind of like, yeah, you can't get that over on me. So.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever feel like in those moments that that they are trying to get over on you by using certain language, certain terminology that an average person who hasn't gone through your experience would go through?
Yes, definitely. They used to come in with the jargon, the big words, the facts, the numbers, and you're like, can you just break it down and simplify it? But then sometimes I feel like if they simplify it, then they're not doing their education justice, so
Hmm.
to speak, because they went to school to learn all of these facts and all of the drugs and everything that they learn, and to just dumb it down for people that do not have that professional terminology, is it can be a little not degrading to the professional, but it cannot be what they want to represent sometimes.
Right, right, right. And so, what's your goal? I know that when we were making contact with you, you have an email address that's really it's about advocacy. Like, what's your end goal with you pursuing the RN?
I really want to get my RN, and I would love to do research for sickle cell actually, because I have had so many great doctors and nurses that work with me, and I would love to just put that out there for others. And I have been through one of the trials, the bone marrow trials at NIH, and the way that they treated me, and they were like, "We're going to work with you." But unfortunately, I wasn't able to go through with the bone marrow because I received a transfusion and I reacted to it. So
Hmm.
that didn't work. But I still would like there to be more knowledge out there for just anyone to know about sickle cell, because some nurses come to me and they're like, so can you tell me a little bit more about sickle cell? And I'm like, wait, what?
Wow. Wow.
Well, how is it with sickle cell? And I don't really understand it. I've taken care of patients, but I don't really understand it. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, thank you for being open and honest about it. I do appreciate that. But it's kind of taken back because you don't learn that much about it, and it's a shame. But yes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's that those moments because I've actually had those moments too where they're like, "Can you tell me a little bit more of how it makes you feel?" And in pain, I'm like, "Well, how do I explain this?" Right? So you got your BSN. I'm sure you felt like crying. I'm sure it was like a happy moment, accomplishment for you in your life. Um, it actually is encouraging to me because as I follow other sickle cell platforms and people are posting that they've graduated school, college, it makes me think, maybe I can do this, maybe I can actually push through it. Now, getting your BSN is normally a 4-year process,
4 years. It took me
and
7.
were you able to complete it in the 4 years, or did it take?
No, it took me 7 years because I got sick that last year and I had to take off for a whole full year. And then I would go back and do a clinical, and just do it semester by semester instead of just crunching off the last, because some of the clinicals were actually 12-hour clinicals, and that was hard.
Yeah.
But I still was determined to do it. And I was like, no, I don't want to transfer out. I don't want to change my major. I want to know this professional knowledge, and I want to be able to relate it to my patients as well, and let anyone know that, you can do it regardless of your major, whether you want to be a doctor. My mom always had a clipping of a doctor who had sickle cell in Detroit. That's where I'm originally from. And it just always touched me, because people would say, oh, Tawana, you know what? Don't be the nurse, be the doctor. And it's like, no, I want to be a nurse.
Yeah.
I want to help the people. I want to, not just prescribe and medicate, but I want to be more that encourager.
Right, right. Yeah. And in that way you're in the room with them, and you can say, hey, look, I've got it too. We're gonna get through this together. It's really, it's powerful. It's a powerful approach, and the fact that you are becoming an advocate, gives you even more credibility to supporting, those that come into the hospital setting.
Yes, yes, that's why I wanted to do the advocacy program that we're in right now, because I know the sickle cell as, personal. I know it from a professional, being in clinicals and nursing school, and I just want to help patients, because it's hard to speak up when you're in pain. It's hard to speak up when you don't know what's going on. When I was younger, I didn't know exactly what was going on because I was young, but as I grew older, it's hard to even have a voice, even as I gained and I went through nursing school. So it's hard to be an advocate for yourself. And I'm glad I had my mother who was that strong advocate. But as I grew older, I had to learn to advocate for myself. And that's
Mhm.
hard to do when you're going through all the challenges that sickle cell has for you, with different organs failing, different complications, and so it's very hard. And doctors, may not always believe you're in as much pain as you are. You say, oh, I'm at a 9 out of 10, and they're like, but you're not even crying or moving or shaking. And it's like, so what?
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
how I portray pain. I don't have to be crying out in pain to say that I'm in a lot of pain.
yeah.
And so
So let's talk about you growing up with it up until this point where you are now in your life.
yeah.
And so as a kid, you were saying, trying to manage, it was a little bit easier because you had your mom by your side, right?
Right.
Even though sickle cell itself is difficult as it is. So you're able to manage it with an advocate, your mom, and then as an adult transitioning now to from pediatric care of sickle cell to adult care of sickle cell, that's a whole different dynamic. And I don't think people understand that there's a significant difference in the bridge between the two treatments.
There is that, as a pediatric, it's like you get pampered a lot. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, let's do this for you. We understand you more. And as soon as you get as an adult out there, you're like, you're alone, you're by yourself. And I don't feel like there's a good transition that happens between being a pediatric and being an adult. And then all the care now is on you. And then you're having to be an adult and talk to an adult and tell them what's going on and verbalize it properly and without losing who you are, because it's easy to they have their perspective of sickle cell and what sickle cell looks like. And when you don't fit that perspective at times, it's also hard, because it's like, I'm not that patient. I'm my own patient. And
Mm-hmm.
you should listen to what I'm saying. My body is saying, I can't handle blood transfusions. Oh, but sickle cell, you get blood transfusions. No, that's not what's going on with me. I have antibodies. Or, oh, she has sickle cell. Let's give her a bunch of fluids. No, I've been on a ventilator before. I can't handle fluids. I've had acute chest pneumonias, all of that, scarring on my lungs. I wear oxygen from time to time. I can't have all that fluid. And don't draw my blood. Well, you're at a 5. Well, I know I'm at a 5, but I'm functioning. So don't keep drawing labs. Or if you're going to draw labs while I'm in the hospital, make sure it's a pediatric lab, and don't do it every day because my numbers aren't going to change that much. And so it's hard to advocate for yourself when you don't know how to at times.
Now you said something interesting that I think is important for people to know. Now you said I'm at a 5, and when you say you're at a 5, you're talking about hemoglobin, right? Okay, and so for me, I know at one point my good number of functioning was like an 8, right? And if I dropped to a 7, I needed a blood transfusion. Um, for you, what was that golden number for you?
In North Carolina, I would pray to get to 6, honestly. And that went on for about 20 years in North Carolina. I moved to Maryland 2 years ago, and they put me on Retafrit for injections to help stimulate my bone marrow. And they also put me on hydroxyurea and another drug, Oxbryta, and that has helped bring me up. I've gotten up to an 8. I've gotten up as high as 11.8, but that's a little bit high for me. So my doctors had to back down off of the injections. So I do take another injection, darbepoetin now. And right now I'm hanging at like a 7.2. I was at 8 last week. So right now I'm trying to prepare for surgery, hip replacement surgery that I could never have because my counts were always too low and because I could not be transfused due to antibodies.
And so now you're starting to educate me. This is why I love this platform. Okay, you said that your numbers were too high, or were getting too high. So what is the average number like for someone without sickle cell that they should be at? And what was the problem with you going too high with your hemoglobin?
With most people, you can be as a woman between like 12 to 14. And for me, my golden number that my doctors wanted me to get at for John Hopkins was around 10. But the problem with going too high is that my body has not been used to such a high hemoglobin. And so I can do more sickling and go into more crises with a high hemoglobin. I can also run the risk of having clots. And that's what my doctors did not want to happen or do not want to happen. So I have to get my blood checked every week while I'm on these injections and medications.
Oh my goodness, every week.
Yes, every week trying to find a vein is
So
hard.
do you have a port?
I did have a port. I've had 2 ports, but I got it. It was infected in March. My port got infected, so they had to remove it, and I had to do a 4-week course of antibiotics at home. So they sent me home with a IV in my arm called a PIC line.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow, I'm still stuck on every week.
yes,
That's
every week.
crazy. So I'm a hard stick as well. I have to tell them, hey, look, you have a 2 stick rule with me because, and most times I let it pass. I'm in too much pain to fight them, but I have a port, and that's been pretty much my saving grace when they can't find a vein and everything like that. But to get stuck every week, I mean, at what point do you have to say, let's take a break this week because my body can't handle it?
Yes, there are times when I do go into the lab and they'll stick me twice, and I'm like, okay, you can try maybe one more time, knowing I've drank a lot and I've been hydrated, but sometimes they just cannot get a vein, and or they've been going to the same vein and it's gotten worn out now. So I'm just like, okay, I just will tell my doctors that, look, I need a break. So there have been a time where I've taken a week break off between times going.
Wow. Oh my goodness, Tawanda, that's
Yes,
crazy.
I do want my port back though.
Yeah.
So, I do. I have not discussed it again with my doctors just yet, just because we were at the surgery and doing everything, trying to get ready for that.
Yeah, yeah. And there's there are people that are out there, and by people I mean, patients with sickle cell that are contemplating, should I get a port? Should I not get a port?
Mhm.
If you're a hard stick, I am so for the port. I really am, just because you get the needle that you need, you get the IV that you need, and it's quick access to your veins, So I'm so for the port. I really am. And I want this to be a non-biased broadcast, but I'm so for the port. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing, and that is when now you're in this advocacy class, right? And you have the opportunity to pretty much review some things that you already know, right? Now, what is the benefit of taking the course versus having the knowledge that you've been educated on from the university?
I see it as just a plus in my book in that I can support someone from an advocacy level. So I can be someone's nurse, or I can be someone with knowledge about sickle cell, be a patient with sickle cell. But to actually be there for someone where someone's calling on you and they're like, hey, the doctors are saying this and that about me. Is it true? What should I do? Having the advocacy group and the that we're taking right now is a good way to get that other background knowledge of how to actually work with someone and
Mm-hmm.
be that advocate, not just as, as a patient with it or as a professional with it, but as someone that is trained to be an advocate and go through the coursework with it.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit about what you are currently doing and how you're managing the sickle cell and school, like as far as employment?
Yeah, so right now I'm currently just preparing for my RN exam. And so I don't have a date for that right now, but I am preparing for that. And that's my next goal. And then I'm doing the advocacy group that we're in every week. And then I'm also doing Toastmasters International. And I was the past president for my group, the Restored. And so now I'm a secretary with it. And so I'm doing that, and I'm working towards getting my health up, just staying healthy. This heat, I don't want to be in this heat at all and get dehydrated. I don't want to go to the hospital right now. I want to have my surgery, and so I'm just trying to stay as healthy as I can. I'm looking to change my diet and do more healthy eating. So I'm just working on a few things right now.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, you sound like me. I got a whole bunch of things going on all at once. And they always say, when you have sickle cell, limit your stress level. what? What stress level?
Oh, what is that? What do you mean?
Yes, yes. I can tell you right now, my wife sympathizes with you because she's from Chicago and she hates the heat right now. So you're not alone. So I do want to say, thank you so much for being part of the show. I do want to give you the opportunity to speak to the audience, encourage them, whatever's on your heart. I'm gonna, slide myself out and have you be face on the screen because I do want you to be able to talk to the people. So whatever's on your heart, Miss Tawanda, go ahead and share with everyone.
Okay, thank you everyone for tuning in and listening to my story. I just wanted to say that you know what, regardless of what you're going through right now, whether it be sickle cell or any other type of illness that you're dealing with, there's depression that goes with sickle cell, there's all types of mental barriers, there's physical barriers. There's all kinds of barriers with sickle cell and other health illnesses. And I just want to say that, you can do this. You can fight the fight and you can be successful at whatever you put your mind to. I did it. I went to nursing school. I was in and out of the hospital. I did the hospital emergency rooms right after my clinicals. I had a strong support system, and I know sometimes that can be hard to have that support system, but it's great when you can just persevere through what people say you cannot do. Because having this illness and having any disability is going to come with challenges, but the strength that you have is going to determine how far you go. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you so much, Tawanda. It's been such an honor and a privilege to have you on. I'm so glad that I have someone on the show that has the best of both worlds, which I think was so cool. That's funny because when I told my wife, I said, "Baby, when I do this show, I want to get someone that's in it, someone that's going through it, and someone that's doing both." Like, so it's just so great to have you on the show, and hopefully next time you'll be part of the show again.
Thank you. I was like, yeah, thank you so much for
Absolutely. Now we're gonna put you into the green room to stick by for us.
that. Okay.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to On the Air Sickle. This is what it's about, right? It's about getting the stories of the sickle cell community out there. And at the end of the day, not much information is out there, or education, I should say, on sickle cell. We know about cancer and we know about some other chronic illnesses, but not much information is out there about sickle cell. And sickle cell is one of those illnesses, one of those health challenges that affects many, not just African Americans, but it affects the blood. So, different cultures can have it. So I think it's important that we get the information out there, right? All in the name of awareness and advocacy. So listen, next on the show, we will have Gina Alson. Gina is our wellness consultant for On the Air Sickle. She's going to be our next guest 2 weeks' time. Please make sure that you all stay connected to all of our social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. If you want more information about the show and what we're doing, follow us on Facebook, right? All of our commercial advertisements you can definitely see on our TikTok. And then this show will be broadcasted on Spotify later on this evening. Now, also, if you want to get your story on the show, you can join us by following our website. Website is www.ontheairsickle.com. You will click the share my story link, put in your information, give us your story, and then one of our team members will be in contact with you. We are currently booking for season 2. We're going to be wrapping up season 1 in August. So I'm super excited that we are starting our next season. So it's now's the time to really go to the website, get your information out there, share the information with someone that you know. Even if they don't have sickle cell, we want to get them part of the group so that we can educate, everyone about sickle cell and what we go through. All right. And then also the last thing is that On the Air Sickle is a nonprofit organization. So our mission and our vision are very unique. Okay, so our mission is that we want to air the good, the bad, the ugly, all in the name of awareness and advocacy. But our vision is threefold. The vision is that we want On the Air Sickle to be a platform where the sickle cell community can express their stories, share their experiences, and give insight into our world, right? The second portion of it is that we want to be able to support sickle cell research wherever that may lead. And then the last portion is that we are trying to pursue what we're calling a Flip the Bill campaign. The Flip the Bill campaign will basically provide support for sickle cell warriors and their family members when they are going through a rough time paying their medical bills or whatever the case may be. Maybe On the Air Sickle can support a family and provide a meal for them for a week. Or maybe, we can take care of their medical expense, one of their medical expenses, not the whole thing. But, who knows? Maybe God will bless us in a way that we can cover the entire thing. The other side of that is for people like Tawanda who are pursuing their education. They're in school. On the Air Sickle wants to be able to support the sickle cell community in pursuing their education, maybe even paying for their books for a semester. So that's what the Flip the Bill campaign is all about. So you can donate to On the Air Sickled at On the Air Sickled OD. All of your money does go to the vision, to support On the Air Sickle, to support research, and to support the Flip the Bill campaign. You do not want to miss an opportunity to be able to join this mission, join this fight. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to On the Air Sickle. Thank you for tuning in to the show. Until next time, stay strong. Hey y'all, you're listening to On the Air Sickle. Our next guest on the air, Mama Alexis, Amy Mason Cruz, Audrey Thomas, Tavon Ferris, Juanita Jones, Tawanda Young,